In 1939, a white mob in Fort Worth, Texas, burnt down Opal Lee's family home. But that didn't stop her. Lee became a civil rights activist, and she fought most hard for one thing: to make Juneteenth, the anniversary of the moment when slaves in Galveston, Texas, were told they were free, a national holiday. Opal Lee won that fight 3 years ago. She's known as the grandmother of Juneteenth. So now America is growing into this holiday and what it means. In Opal Lee's words, it's not a Texas thing or a black thing. It's an American thing. A conversation with the Juneteenth organizer in Watertown about what the holiday means to her and to all of us on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com. And from SciTech Business Solutions, training and consulting services to help businesses grow. More information at citec.org.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Wednesday, June 19th. First up, forest rangers in the North Country rescued lost and injured hikers, helped stranded kayakers, and found 2 deceased people in the woods last week. Emily Russell has details.
Last Friday, an 82-year-old fisherman was reported missing near the Black River in Boonville. Police, forest rangers, and other search and rescue responded. They used drones, a canine, an airboat, and road patrol to search for the man. His body was found along the trail leading from the Black River back to the road. That same day, rangers also found the body of a, quote, despondent man who had been reported missing in the southern Adirondack town of Arietta. The state police is investigating that person's death. Earlier in the week, a 68-year-old man lost his hiking partner while descending Mount Marcy in the High Peaks. The man called the DEC dispatch for help just before midnight on Wednesday. Nearly 20 forest rangers responded to the search. The man was finally found at 6 p.m. the next day and helped off the trail. The following day, a woman in her 40s injured her ankle hiking Buck Mountain in Washington County. Forest rangers splinted her lower leg and carried her a mile back to the trailhead. That evening, 2 kayakers on Taylor Pond in Clinton County got stranded due to strong winds. Forest rangers picked them up in a boat and took them back to the campground. This week, during the extreme heat in the Adirondack North Country, officials are urging people to be extra cautious outside. The DEC says hikers should bring at least 2 liters of water. For longer hikes, a water filter can be helpful. Pack snacks, take breaks, and since pets have a harder time staying cool, the DEC says it might be best to leave them at home this week. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio.
Watertown Juneteenth has been going on for more than a decade and was the first Juneteenth event in the North Country. The group held a festival last weekend with speakers and music, but today events continued with the raising of the Pan-African flag outside Watertown City Hall. Bianca Ellis is the organizer.
The Pan-African flag is the red, black, and green that was given to us by Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey. In brief, encouraging people of African descent to be proud of who we are, reminding us of who we are.
Ellis spoke with St. Lawrence Valley reporter Catherine Wheeler about the importance of celebrating Juneteenth in Watertown.
Watertown is the home of Fort Drum Army installation. In this area, frequently when you see a person of African descent here, it's because either they or their family member or friends were stationed here at Fort Drum in Watertown. And so there's a unique relationship that people of African descent have with Watertown as far as in contemporary times. There's also the history of the Ray Mansion and the Leray de Chameau family. The remnants of the Ray Mansion are still on Fort Drum. When you look into the history of the Leray de Chameau family, you find out things about the family's wealth, how it ties into, unfortunately, with the what was called the African slave trade. You also know that there were quite a few African people captured in a captive state at the Leray Mansion, and so we find ourselves doing this work of putting African people back in the story, because when you hear about the Ray Mansion and the father of the North Country, you do not hear that there would have been hundreds and hundreds of African people here doing the work of building the Ray Mansion, of clearing areas that we now know as the North Country, and they're just left out of the story.
Do you think that celebrations like this, get to marry those two things and bring more attention to it than maybe people think about normally?
I really hope so, Catherine. It is my hope that Juneteenth celebrations and Black History celebrations are places where we actually give space to telling more of the history, exploring more of the history that we are not encouraged to explore in our country. There's an integral relationship between Africa and America that is deliberately ignored. I think we're going to be better off as a country, I think, when we really lean into that with our history here. So I'm hopeful that Juneteenths are a place where we can really do that work of talking about more of our history, as well as, of course, enjoying the things, the fun things, right, that African people, despite everything, have managed to or have brought with them to the country. Everything that we know as American music, for example, is really it's coming from people who come from Africa. So there are opportunities for us to grow as a country and to heal as a country if we let them be that, and let the people of African descent themselves speak for themselves.
What do you hope people walk away with from these celebrations?
I really hope that people walk away with curiosity, and enough curiosity to go and read things on their own. To say, wow, I never even thought about that, or I never even heard that. And, what does the Constitution say? What does the Dred Scott decision say? What does the proclamation actually say? Who's actually in it? What does it mean? And was Texas really the last? Oh, gee, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. They continued in the country for a very long time. So I really hope that people are motivated to study on their own, to explore and inquire on their own about history, as well as I want Black people, African American people, people of African descent to be safe, ultimately. And when you're safe, it's because you're respected, because you're valued, and appreciated for the various things that you have done or not done. I don't think that most of us, both the people of African descent and others, know really the half, as they say, of that history. So I hope that people walk away curious enough to continue to explore on their own.
Is there anything you're looking forward to the future of with Watertown Juneteenth celebrations?
I'd like to see people of African descent continuing to take stock of, ownership of our own story, to learn about it, to tell it, and to share it with others when in our own voices. There are a lot of perhaps well-meaning folks who would like to speak for us, but it is, no one can tell your story better than you. An ally is someone who stands beside you, not in front of you. So ideally, you support people, and you as we like to say, create spaces for them. You share your resources with them. You advocate and agitate on their behalf, but you always let them speak in their own voice.
That was Watertown Juneteenth organizer Bianca Ellis speaking with St. Lawrence Valley reporter Catherine Wheeler. We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Eddie Lawrence of Moira and Gretchen Kohler and Daniel Kelly of Potsdam. Happy Juneteenth. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.